Conant, also known as Deborah Henson-Conant, also known as DHC, and I am here to talk about my new musical, The Golden Cage, which is a dream of a lifetime to be able to premiere it, which I'm about to do this Thursday. And if you haven't not already RSVP'd, you get to RSVP for free. Just go to goldencagemusical.com, and I also put a link into the what do you call it? The post that goes along with this live stream. Now, this show actually is, it doesn't have a harp in it. And you may not know this. I mean, many of you know me. If you know me with a harp in my hand. And there's a reason for that, because I have always loved to tell stories with music ever since I was a little kid. My grandmother had this wonderful player piano, and I would sit at the piano and mess around with all the mechanics of it, which I really loved. And I also love the mechanics of the harp. And I would tell stories and I would play the music that goes with the stories. That's what I love. As a kid, it was mostly like, well, there was this princess and she was playing out in the rain, and then she went down into a dark forest and she was in the forest playing around when a monster came, and then she ran up and back into the rain. I mean, I was playing music in my mind, but I was just messing around. But I never lost the joy of creating stories with music. And that is something I do on stage spontaneously. And it's something that I create, that I write, that I craft, and then put on stage. And this musical, The Golden Cage, is a story that I've been crafting for many years. And in fact, I did a TEDx talk about a week and a half ago, and I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but it's all about what it took to bring this story out of my head. Because the story started when I was sitting at the piano when I was in my teens, and I had this thought. I was thinking, I wonder if my life's going to be a life of searching for security or searching for freedom. And out of my head popped this question, became these two characters, which was A and B. That's what I called them at first. And then it became Alpha and Beta, and then it became Althea and Boris. And Althea was stuck on the inside, trapped actually on the inside of a cage. And Boris was on the outside of a cage, a flying creature. And I mean, like literally, boom, they started singing to each other. Here I am in my golden cage, growing thin, growing pale. There you are on the outside looking in. Here I am in my suit of mail, so secure and so pure. There you are on the outside looking in. There on the outside where you stand, all that glitters in your hand. So they were on either side of this golden cage. I didn't play the harp at the time. There's no harp in this thing, but the harp is here, so I'm going to play what I can to play a little bit of the show. That was the character on the inside was singing that. The character on the outside sang, here I am at your palace gate in a state of despair. There you are on the inside looking out. Here I am, la da 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 da, la da dee la da da. There you are on the inside looking out. And then they both sang together in perfect harmony. There on the inside, outside where you stand, all that glitters in your hand. So the Golden Cage is about those two sides of us. The side of us that's trapped on the inside, longing to be out, and the part that's trapped on the outside, longing to be in. It's about how our dreams can sometimes become our nightmares, how we can get stuck in our minds, stuck in our ambitions, stuck in isolation, trapped. So we feel trapped. That's what the Golden Cage is about. But it's told from two mythical creatures. The one on the outside is a bird person. Now, if you're going to ask me what is a bird person, it's not, I always said it was a bird person. But then when this costume designer for the Golden Cage, when we did it last year in New York City, when he came in with the costumes, and I was like, no, 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 that looks like a bird, and he was like, well, it's a bird person, right? And I'm like, no, 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 no. And I went looking for the way I see Boris, and I realized that what Boris is he's not a fairy, and he's not an angel. He's not a he, it's an it. I call him a he because it's easier to say he and she. It's like, like a fairy has like magical powers and an angel has like divinity, but a bird person is like like a normal is like a normal person that flies. Okay. Not an angel, not a fairy, just a normal person. And by the way, I should ask, can you hear me okay? Or is it okay? Oh, good. I'm glad you like the harp. That's great. Shamar, great. So anyway, this normal bird person on the outside of a cage. So that's sort of mythical. And then on the inside, Althea is like this grumpy, melodramatic diva, unlike myself, unlike my mother. It's actually my mother, and she's trapped in this golden cage, and Boris has been looking for the cage his whole life. But really, it's a metaphor for how we get stuck in our own minds. So I wanted to play just a little bit more. It's hard for me to play the music on the harp because it's not written for the harp, but I discovered that I could play a little bit of it. And I also wanted to I just want to get here and tell you to go RSVP. Oh, good, you can hear well. That's great. So I want to make sure that everybody knows about this premiere. So in fact, I want to do a little, I want to show you, excusez-moi, I want to show you a couple of images of what we've done with this show, because this is a really unusual it's an unusual film. It brings you closer than the front row into a live production. It actually brings you onto the stage. So you could think of it as maybe a soundstage musical or something like that, but it's not like any musical you've ever seen before. I mean, it does have singing and dancing, but it's just completely different. It's two characters, and Boris and Althea are played by these wonderful, wonderful young actors. But the play was created in such a way that it could be done with any actors of any age, race, gender, body type, because it's like a mythical story, not about someone who looks a certain way. And it's a story that's written for multi-generational audiences. And it's also a story that's written, or a play that's written so that it can be done very simply on stage. Now, when you see the production in the film, it won't look like it's simple, because the set designer and the costume designer and the lighting designer and the projection designer people were incredibly creative, and the director, and I mean, everybody involved was incredibly creative. And so what you'll see on stage when you come to the Golden Cage, starting with the premiere this Thursday, is something that looks lush and magical, but it was done on a very simple stage in a very simple way. And one of the things, well, I'll show you a couple pictures in a minute, but I wanted to play you just another song. My father sang the tales to me every night when I was small. So there's a part of the play where, and this was a part of my life as well, when I was writing the show, there were a couple of questions that I didn't know the answers to, and so it took me a while to complete the show because I had to answer those questions. And one of the questions was, why why is a bird person looking for a cage? Like, every time I would do a reading of the show, people would be like, "Oh, I really like the music and, really like the actors, but like I don't get it. Like, why this and why that? Why is a bird person looking for a cage?" And so it took me a while to figure that out. I actually had to go to a dramaturg. A dramaturg is a person who kind of helps playwrights untangle their own ideas. And I had to really look back at my own life. And I had to look at, where do we get the thoughts that we often get trapped in? Where do we get ideas of what we need to do in our lives or what we're afraid of, or, you know, where do they come from? And I looked back in my own history and I sort of looked at like, what were the stories, not the stories that were told to me as fairy tales, but the stories that I started sort of getting the idea of, oh, this is how life is. And one was about my mother, who was an amazing performer, but wasn't really being appreciated or discovered. Everything just kind of went wrong. Like when it was, at this certain time of her career, when this was supposed to happen, something went wrong. And then this other type of her moment of her career, when this was supposed to happen, something went wrong. And so it never really happened. And that was a story. I think we all have stories like that, that just sort of live within us. And then there was another story of my grandmother from Russia and her father, who forbade her to be a performer, but that's what she wanted to do. She loved to sing and dance. So there were these stories that came down to me that impacted my life and made me longing after things that, sorry, just remembering something. It's almost like it imprints this longing on you. And the reason I'm laughing is because I remember when I was about 12, everybody just assumed I was going to be a musician because all I did was write stories with music. And it pissed me off. And I remember one day saying to my parents, what if I'm not going to be an artist or a musician? What if I'm going to be a scientist? What about that? So we all have these. It's almost like it's not in our, I don't think it's in our DNA, but I think it's in our like something in our heads. So when I realized that about my own background, I began to understand why a bird would be looking for a cage. And Boris started singing. My father sang the tales to me every night when I was small, of those who left to find the cage, returned in shame, or not at all. And snug inside our little nest, my mind inflamed with cage and quest, I swore I'd be the one to prove the myth was true, that I would find the golden cage, the sweet elusive glory of a place where you belong. The greatest test, a sacred quest, the hallowed ground, where all the life you've lost is found. The golden cage. Now, when you come and you see the premiere on Thursday night, you are going to see two incredible young performers taking on these roles. What you're not going to know is how this happened and how it was so intense. We were doing it right at the end of the pandemic. We were doing it at the end of what we thought was going to be the end of the pandemic, but in fact, it ended up being the sort of lingering final part of it. Anyway, you'll hear them sing this song in the most amazing way. And I'll just tell you for a second what that was like. So I went down to New York. It was almost exactly a year ago. In fact, it was, I think this is the 21st. Yeah, there was a performance on April 23rd. We were filming the show that night exactly a year ago, and we were part of a festival, and that means that there were other production companies there as well. And one of the other production companies very early on got COVID. And we were so like, this can't happen because we have to film this because we're going to put it out in a year. We have to do this. We tested for COVID every single day. Everybody wore masks all the time. Nobody was let into our rehearsal room unless they had a mask and unless they had been tested first. It was a very, very intense situation. But we got through it and we were able to make this really beautiful film. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of it right now. But before I do, I want to ask if there's any questions that you all have. And I know there's a couple of people here watching right now, and I know that there's going to be more people watching later on. And I want to come and do a bunch of Facebook Lives in the next couple of days because I really, really want you to come to this premiere. But let me show you, let me see if I can show you some pictures. This is, I'll get used to this in the next couple of days, I think. Okay, so let me see. Let's see what I can do here. All right. Well, bear with me. I'm going to show this PowerPoint thing to you, and I'm not really great at PowerPoint. So let me get back here. All right, here we go. Sharing the PowerPoint. Okay. Let me know. Well, I probably won't be able to see your comments. So this is this. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Entire screen. Well, we'll share the entire screen and we'll see what that's like. Okay. Here we go. Sharing entire screen, which means we get to see us first. All right, great. So now I'm going to go over here. I really hope this is going to work because I'm going to present this. And that means hopefully, well, you'll let me know if you were able to see it. So I introduce you, my friends, to The Golden Cage, a new musical by me, which is now a film. The Golden Cage is a new musical about dreams and illusions. Imagine chasing a dream your whole life, only to discover that it is someone else's nightmare. That is what the story of The Golden Cage is all about. It's about the traps that we create in our own minds, and it is about the human connection that sets us free. You will see two amazing, amazing actors in this film. Where, see, look, you're closer than you will never get this close when you're in a theater. I mean, it's wonderful to be in a theater, but we are even closer to this live show. This is literally how close you are in the film. And you get to see them. They're wonderful. It's funny. It's passionate. You get to see the heads of the people who were there. And now it is on film for the first time. So we are at a pivotal stage of this project, and it's literally just the beginning. I mean, literally, it is the beginning, even though it's been years in the making. This Thursday is the beginning of this. But actually, it began. I told you about this when I was 19. This was me at 19 sitting at the piano before I ever played a harp, by the way. Well, I'd had a couple lessons as a kid. And I had this question: is my life going to be about security or freedom? And then that question, like I told you, became these two characters. And this was the first image that I drew of Boris and Althea. My favorite part is his tennis shoes. I really love that. And this was the story. I mean, it came from my deepest soul. It was the question I needed to tell this story because I needed to understand this story, because I needed to understand this about my life. But then in 2022, everything changed. I already told you a little bit about this. The show was chosen for the first ever CreateTheater New Works Festival in New York City, live on stage, where it won awards for Most Innovative Production, Best Actor, and Best Musical Score. This is me performing on the harp right now. And it was filmed. So you can actually see the stage over here. You can see the people filming it. You can see our stage manager, Tala, here, and you can see the lighting designer here. It was really amazing. And you can see the stage that you're going to see. You can also see up here these amazing projections. So instead of having, painting scenery, we had these beautiful projections of clouds. And it was really, you'll see them when you come and see the show, which you're going to get to do for free on Thursday. Just go to goldencagemusical.com. But now we are at the most important stage of the project. Let's go back and look at it. Phase 1, I spent years writing and workshopping the show. This is me literally singing the parts with Tim, who was the music director that I worked with at my house. Check this out. Tim has earplugs in his ears. That's because he always had to have earplugs when he was working with me because I would sing so loud. Phase 2, we created a beautiful live production with a wonderful director, amazing actors. Phase 3, we captured it on film. And phase 4, here we are, about to release the film for worldwide distribution as a streaming musical. I want you to be there on Thursday when this happens, and I want you to tell all your friends. RSVP today for the premiere and tell all your friends. This is Althea. She wants you to do that. I want you to do that. Just go to goldencagemusical.com. And the link is in the post that I have along with this live stream. And you get to come see the mind of my 19-year-old self all grown up in this show. So just look at how beautiful these costumes are. These are the costumes that Evan Prezant created to create these bird people. And they're just, it was just marvelous and magical. And in fact, I'm going to take you back. Look at this. Althea wears these wigs and helmets and stuff. That's just what she does. And he made every single one of them out of cardboard. He made this beautiful cape. And it was so amazing to hear him talk about what he was making. You can see Althea. You can see her in one of her other wigs. And you can see Boris in his bird costume. And you can see this amazing set. So they built the stage out of feathers. Boris sees the cage. I'm sorry, they built the cage out of feathers. So Boris sees the cage as golden. Althea experiences the cage as made out of cement and iron. But we get to see it as feathers. And those feathers become even more important later on the show several times. I just love this beautiful helmet that Evan made for Chris. This is Chris Isolano. Yep, there's there's that helmet. I love headpieces. Yeah, and here they are dancing. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. All right, so I'm going to come out of here, come back to you all. And how do I stop doing that? Stop sharing your screen. Wait, okay, now where am I? Okay, all right. So all is working well. Thank you, Vanessa. That's so great. And Risa saying, hi, Deborah. I have a question. Yay. My question is about what's your idea about flamenco music and your style of music? Well, that's completely different than what's in this show. So this show, the music of this show has been described as some people describe it as Debussy meets the Music Man. Some people describe it as, a little bit of Gettel, a little bit of Sondheim. It's described a lot of different ways. I have different vocabularies for different instruments. So Risa, you were asking about flamenco. One of the reasons that I really love flamenco on the harp is that the harp is like a big guitar. Now, that has nothing to do with the Golden Cage because the Golden Cage is written for piano and voices, and you're going to hear it with a huge orchestra, actually, because we put that on afterwards. But one of there is a real connection between your question about why do I like, why am I excited by flamenco music on the harp or flamenco-esque music on the harp and the Golden Cage? I really love, and I have my whole life, creative resourcefulness. And by that, I mean taking whatever you have and creating magic, a magic that combines the imagination of the listener with whatever you're doing. So in the Golden Cage, you've got only two characters. You've got a set that's very simple, but it creates this experience of magic. And the beauty of that, in part, is that you get to get lost in the talent and the creativity and the imagination of the creator of the piece and also of the people who are acting it. This is really important to me because as a kid, my mother used to act out operas, and she would tell the story and then she would act out whatever part, and then she would sing this amazing aria. So that was a very, very magical experience to me. And because she would be a normal, klutzy, funny person that transformed the environment into something magical that was more real than if you tried to use reality stuff or made it on the stage, because she engaged my imagination. And that's what we do with the Golden Cage. I love to do the same thing with the harp. So, yeah, this is not a flamenco guitar, no. And it certainly is not a whole troupe of flamenco dancers. But I would have you experience that it is. I would have you experience, like in Baroque flamenco, that we are in the world of flamenco, and then we end up in the world of a Baroque dining room or dining hall or something. And this is something you can do with imagination. You can, music can switch your life, switch your experience like this. Instead of having to craft the whole thing, I can say, there was once a troupe of flamenco dancers, and now I get to become that troupe of flamenco dancers who discovered that their new guitar, which they'd gotten for such a reasonable price, was actually a time machine. But by the time they discovered that, they were already in the court of Marie Antoinette, and she was hosting a ball at which everyone else was dancing the minuet. So the flamenco dancers attempted to fit in. And so there we are in the court of Marie Antoinette. And we get to go back and forth between the court of Marie Antoinette and those flamenco dancers. And then we come back to the court of Marie Antoinette, etc., etc. So how is that relevant to the Golden Cage? Well, it is, because this is my flavor of imagination, my flavor of the humor and the magic and the connection, and my flavor of how the performer engages with the audience, asking the audience to come with me, whether I'm playing the harp or whether I'm writing a piece of musical theater. I'm going to ask you to come with me into a place where we suspend. They always talk about suspending disbelief. We suspend our doubts. We suspend our disbelief of what can and can't be. And when we suspend our disbelief of what can and can't be, it opens up all kinds of understanding to us of life and our own experiences. So one of the things that's been really amazing to me as I as I developed the golden cage is that I ended up talking to my therapist about it a lot. Like I ended up actually having therapy sessions when I was like, well, this week I feel like I'm in Althea's cage, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this week I feel like I'm Boris, blah, 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 blah. The piece has this mythical aspect to it that opens up our own experiences. And one of the ways that I'm engaging in that is that I created together with a wonderful writer named Mary Robinson, we've created a journal. It's like Althea and Boris's journal, but then you'll get to write in that journal as well. And that is a way in which we've taken those characters, taken them into our own lives and imagined, well, what was it like? What would it be like if Althea had a journal that she wrote in? Well, what would it be like if I got that journal and I got to see some of the same things she was talking about and got to write in it myself. And the reason we thought of this was because there are so many themes in the show that well, like I said, that I talked to my therapist about. So, and I didn't think this show would be like that, but it is. And here's the other cool thing. And then we ended up taking some of those cool things, like there's a soundtrack, alive from Theater Row. There's there's an album that we just created from the film, and we also created this journal, and they have become the perks in the fundraising campaign that I'm doing. So this was not an inexpensive project. No film is like really inexpensive, especially if you have to have live in a theater and you're in New York and stuff like that. So right now, I'm also running that fundraising project. So when you go to goldencagemusical.com, not only do I want you to RSVP and tell all your friends to come on Thursday night, but also you can take a look at the fundraising campaign. And it's really fun because there's just all these fun perks, including the journal. Now, some of you may ask, or you might want to say like, well, I can't be there Thursday night. And I say to you, sign up anyway, because when you RSVP for the premiere, you will also get a link to stream it on demand for a couple days afterwards. I don't know how long we're going to be able to keep it open, but hopefully at least for a couple days, because a lot of people that, my fans and friends are all over the world. And so they can't all be there at 7 p.m. on Thursday night. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys are going to be able to get access to this show. All right. So I want to answer any other questions that you have. I thought it was very interesting that Riza asked me a question about the harp. Oh, can a flamenco guitar composer promote its improvising by... Oh, that's really interesting. I see. So you're asking, could a flamenco guitar composer promote... I don't know. So when I started writing flamenco type music for the harp, it's not real flamenco music. It's like, imaginary flamenco music. Like everything I do is imaginary. And if a flamenco player really wanted a harpist to do exactly what they're doing, I don't know if that would be possible. I just don't know. Part of what I'm doing always is creating an experience. So I'm creating the experience of a flamenco player, not trying to do it exactly. And in the theater, I'm creating the experience of a character who can fly and someone who's trapped in a cage. But I'm not trying to make exact, because I'm always engaging with your imagination. So my imagination is engaging with your imagination. That's just what I love. And I've loved that ever since I was a kid. I'm going to be more intrigued by something. I'm going to be more intrigued if you tell me this is an elephant. That's going to be interesting to me, because I'm going to think, whoa, Okay, I get it. Okay, how is it like an elephant? Okay, well, it's got a trunk. Got it. It's got a tail. Got it. Anyway, I'm just going to have more fun with something when I'm using my imagination than when I'm trying to make it look like it's real, because I don't know that anything looks like it's real to me. All right, so what else do you guys have to say? What else do you guys have want to ask about? Um, I wish I could play more stuff on the harp. I was trying to think. I think there was one more song. Oh, right. Yeah, there's one song at the end of the show. You build your cage from dreams that died, and every heartache that you ever held inside. You forge the bars from every pain and sorrow you have known. And in your cage, you are alone. This is a song that comes right at the end of the show. And this is a part of the song that actually got taken out of the show. So the two characters in the end, they come to a realization. And I had a friend who was asking me early on when I was still working on the show. He said, well, where are the characters at the beginning of the show? And where are the characters at the beginning of the show? And I don't know exactly what he meant, but my answer was, well, Boris is lost and Althea is alone. So the characters, or these two sides of me, are lost and alone. And that led to this song that I just sang, but I'll sing it again. It had two parts to it. Only one of the parts made it into the show, but it went like this. You build your cage from dreams that died, and every heartache that you ever held inside. You forge the bars from every pain and sorrow you have known. And in your cage you are alone. Then the other character sang, though this isn't in the show, he sang, the quest, the flight, the endless night, the taste of glory that you doubt you'll ever know. And all the time you're aching for a trust you fear you'll never find. You're torn, you're tossed outside the cage. You're lost. And so the two of them in the beginning are lost and alone. Which, I don't know about you, but I certainly know. Lost and alone. And yet together, what they discover is the one secret that can unlock the cage. And I will let you find out that secret when you come to see the show, The Golden Cage, premiering this Thursday, April 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And when you RSVP, you also get access to watch it afterwards. The cool thing about coming to the premiere is that there's a party at the beginning and there's a party at the end, so we get to talk, we get to connect. We get to talk about it. And it's been really beautiful as I've been watching the screenings, because we had to do a bunch of test screenings, the questions and the what people experience with the show, because this show is really about, that dream that we're always searching for, and that trap that we've gotten trapped in, and these two sides of us, the sides that are trapped, and the side of us that can fly or can dream of flying. And so people really identify with that in the show. So music words, says, I want to let you know how much I enjoyed Baroque Flamenco since I played it last week in a concert. It is such an amazing piece, and the way you performed it is mind-blowing. You know what's amazing that I just realized? Two people here have talked about Baroque Flamenco, and I'm just realizing that this theme of like two different, I can't believe this, how this is so similar. This concept of being two different sides, like, so in Baroque Flamenco, those two sides are the Baroque and the Flamenco. And in the Golden Cage, it's these two characters who are inside and outside of a cage. And for me, these are all, in both cases, in both of these pieces, these are two sides of me. And the opportunity to get to play with those two sides in the play, in the Golden Cage, you get to see those two sides on stage. You get to see them connect, and you get to see them disconnected. In Baroque Flamenco, you actually get to play two parts yourself. And this is something that has always fascinated me, that there are these at least two sides of us, that it's easy to get trapped in being one of them and not get to express both of them. But in Baroque Flamenco, you get to express both of them in one piece of music in about, 4 to 10 minutes, depending on which piece you're doing. In the Golden Cage, you get to see these two sides of a human, the part of us that can fly, but might be trapped outside, and the part of us that's trapped inside, longing to be out. I love that. I honestly had never connected how this theme shows up over and over and over again in a lot of my work. The desire to be exploring two opposite sides of something. In Baroque Flamenco, it's, a completely different way of playing. I mean, this is not your standard classical way of playing. Whoops. That's not your standard classical way of playing. This is your standard classical way of playing. And it's so fun to go back and forth and really embody those two things. Same thing in the Golden Cage. When you look at the show and you think, this is really two sides of one person. It's two sides of one person trying to come to terms with life, a life in which there's so much possibility, but a life in which ambition may isolate us, and a life in which we may become isolated through fear. Either one. We can become isolated through ambition, or we can become isolated through fear, and those two characters epitomize them. It's funny, the show is funny and musical, and Baroque Flamenco can be funny and musical too. And you're right, it's just what I love to experience, and what I've always loved to experience ever since I was a little kid. And this is part of why I love working with harpists in Hip Harp Academy, why I love coaching other people in being able to express yourself completely. Because this is my lifelong challenge. I'm doing it with you. I'm learning how to do that. I'm bringing that. You know, I can show in the academy, in Hip Harp Academy, I'm showing people how to, the harpists there, how to do what I know how to do. But I'm constantly learning new things, and I'm constantly learning new ways of teaching because I'm learning so much. And I'm, you know, outside of the academy, I'm learning at this huge rate, and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, it's hard to learn this way. I need to shift the way that I learn, or I need to shift the way that I'm teaching. Anyway, I often can think that my life is separate parts, you know, the part that would write a musical, the part that would, you know, write Baroque flamenco or play with the Salzburg Philharmonic, and the part that, you know, would be teaching other harpists and other artists how to be self-expressed. But in fact, all those things fit together and they support each other. All right, so it sounds beautiful. Okay, Riza's saying hello, hello, hello. Oh, right, I get to close this. Oh, Gustavo. Yes, I'm so glad. I'm so excited about the premiere. I couldn't see your note down there. Okay, so I am going to go to a meeting, but I am going to be back here. And can I get you guys to promise that you will go RSVP for the Golden Cage, please? And please tell your friends. It's free. I think you're going to love, I know you're going to love it. I would love to get as many people as possible to see it while it's free, because it's not going to be free forever. So please, please, please go tell your friends all over the world. One of the things you can do, and I'm going to show you how to do this. If you go to the Golden Cage, woohoo, thanks, Liz. And I'm going to show you how to share it with your friends. So bear with me. I'm going to share my screen. I'm just going to share the entire screen like I usually do, so it's weird for a minute there. I'm going to go here to the Golden Cage. If you go to the link that I gave you, or goldencagemusical.com, when you get to this page, here's how you get the free virtual tickets, and here's how you can donate to the film as well. Oh, ooh, and here's how you can see the trailer, which is really fun. But check over here. You can use these little links to create a Facebook post. So it puts everything in there, and you can just say, you know, go RSVP right now, please. I want to see you at the, you know, or come, you know, come watch with me, or whatever you want to say. And you can do it with Facebook. You can do it with an email. You could do it on Twitter. You can do it on LinkedIn. I think, let's see, does that work? Yeah. Okay. So it works. I don't know why we don't have Instagram, but oh, what's this? I don't want to click it. Okay. Anyway, oh, what's this? Ooh, look at all these different ways you can do it. Ooh, you should definitely do that. That would be fun. I don't know why Instagram's not here, but I'll bet you guys probably know. Anyway, so go to Golden Cage Musical, goldencagemusical.com. And you'll see these icons over here. That's the easiest way to share the show. Oh, okay. You can go. There's other. Oh, I think I stopped sharing because I wanted to show you something else that's really cool here. I'm going to show you one other thing before I leave. There's so much cool stuff on this page. Oh, did I just? I think I closed it. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, choose that. Click that. Click here. If you click cast and crew, it takes you down. You get to see, oh, I think I need to change that photo out. But anyway, you get to see all the people that were in the show and read about them. And one of the people you're not going to see on screen was our understudy, because the show can be done with 2 women, 2 men, you know, however we had one understudy for both parts. And that was Katie, who was both Boris and Althea. Here's our wonderful director. Here was our musical director. Wonderful orchestrator and Tim, oh boy, you're going to hear so much that he did. Anyway, you can go our stage manager, our company manager, stage manager, our assistant stage manager, wonderful scenic design, costume design, lighting design. These are the guys that built the projection. Our amazing, incredible casting director, Cindy. Oh my gosh, she got us such amazing, an amazing cast. Head of props, our prop assistant. You don't get to see the sound engineer, and the festival producer, the person who put this whole festival together, Kate Camerata. So you get to see all of them, and then streaming musicals where the show is going to end up being. So I just want to show you that too. All right, stop sharing. Hopefully, I'm getting better at sharing all this. All right, everybody. Okay. Great. So make sure that you go have fun, share it with all your friends, tell them, and share it with ask them to share it with their friends, and just keep asking people to share, because it is just a really fun thing to get to see a new musical, an award-winning musical that somebody has created, a story that somebody has created. All right, so I look forward to seeing you all many times this week, and definitely on Thursday. Tell everybody and I will see you all very soon. Adios. Farewell. See you soon.